There is one thing that everyone who survives long enough in this market eventually understands. Bollinger Bands, they don't guide anyone. They simply stand there, quietly recording the footprints of the crowd. When I first started trading, I thought it was all very simple. Price touches the upper band, it must be ready to fall. Touches the lower band, it must be preparing to rise. And then my orders burned, my stop losses exploded, and I would just stare at the screen, not understanding why the storm always seemed to find me. But the longer I stayed, the more I realized one truth. The market doesn't betray anyone. We're the ones who misunderstand it. Bollinger Bands never said that a touch means a top. They never promised that the other side is a bottom. All they show us is the breathing of the crowd. They widen when people are greedy and contract when fear takes over. Beginners look at them as a map, but those who've lived through enough know that they're simply a mirror, reflecting collective psychology. The mistake isn't in the indicator. The mistake is in our desire to believe in a fixed pattern, to cling to something, anything that makes us feel less afraid. But the market doesn't move according to anyone's wishes. In the end, what we're fighting isn't the upper band or the lower band, but our own emotions. When your mind is steady, Bollinger Bands are a tool. When your mind is chaotic, they turn into a trap. And one day, you finally realize the market never leads you. It only shows you who you really are. Most traders only see two lines moving around price, but never ask who makes them expand, why do they contract, and what is truly moving beneath those waves. Those who survive long enough in this market eventually learn Bollinger Bands never lie. It's just that people are rarely calm enough to hear what they're saying. Some will shrug and say, it's just an indicator. But to me, and to anyone who has paid with loss, it's a psychological diary, recording every trembling heartbeat of the crowd, every moment they get swept away by fear, every rising gust of greed igniting beneath the surface. When the bands expand, it's not the market that's strong, it's a sign that the crowd is euphoric. When the bands contract, it's not the market that's weak, it's the moment when the crowd holds its breath, waiting for something to come. In those quiet seconds, you hear nothing, but the market is preparing to roar. I used to sit for hours in front of the chart, not to hunt for entries, but to listen to how the market felt. And in those long, silent sittings, I came to understand a truth that's hard to swallow. The market doesn't care whether you're right or wrong. It only reflects your state of mind, magnifying every rush, punishing every impatience, and rewarding those who are calm enough to wait. Many traders try to beat Bollinger Bands, but you can't defeat something that's reflecting your own inner self. You can only understand it. And when you understand it deeply, you realize Bollinger Bands aren't entry signals. They're an emotional map of the crowd, a map that, when read correctly, lets you walk a few steps ahead of them. Today, we're not learning how to trade with an indicator. We're learning how fear and greed move beneath the surface of every single candle. And if you're calm enough to hear these words until the end, your journey is already different from most. Because from this moment on, Bollinger Bands will no longer be just two meaningless lines on a screen. They will become a reminder that the market is not your enemy. Your own psychology is the opponent you must face.
At Trading Psychology, we always remind each other of one thing. A winning trader is the one who reads the waves, not the one who chases them. Most people lose not because the market is cruel, but because they believe they understand it, while what they're looking at is only the surface. The real current runs much deeper. Bollinger Bands look simple at first glance, clean, elegant, almost designed to help traders predict every bounce. But that simplicity is the sweetest trap. They were never created to tell you where the top is or where the bottom lies. They exist to measure the breathing of the market, the expansion of collective emotion, the only force truly moving price. The two bands are not walls that stop a wave. They're more like a membrane around the psychology of the market. When money is euphoric, they expand. When fear tightens its grip, they contract. They don't foretell tomorrow, but they reveal the present. And whoever can read the present can see what's coming next. The biggest mistake of 99% of traders is treating Bollinger Bands like a spring that must snap back. Price touches the upper band, they sell. Price touches the lower band, they buy. They think the market will reverse because it has gone too far. But the market doesn't care how you feel. It only turns when the flow of money turns, not when you feel uncomfortable. Remember this, when price hugs the upper band for multiple candles, it's not a sign of overbought, it's the roar of a strong trend. Fighting a strong trend is like trying to swim upstream during a flood. The river doesn't ask if you know how to swim, it just drags you away. A rookie sees price touching the band and resists. An experienced trader sees price touching the band and follows, because they understand Bollinger doesn't say, go against it. It warns, energy is building, be careful. Another common mistake, using Bollinger as a breakout detector without looking at volume, candle strength, or market structure. Many see the bands widening and jump in believing a breakout is coming, but without real force behind it, every expansion is just the sound of wind passing by. Bollinger is a radar. It shows you a storm is forming, but it doesn't tell you which direction the wind will blow. Then comes the third mistake, the one that can wipe out an account, misunderstanding the nature of a squeeze. When the bands tighten, the market isn't asleep, it's gathering power, silent like a predator waiting in the dark. The impatient will guess the direction. Those who have lived through countless stop hunts will simply observe, because they know the longer the silence, the bigger the explosion. Most traders lose not from lack of indicators, but from haste, so fast that they don't even understand what they're looking at. Think of Bollinger Bands like the rhythm of the ocean. When the water retreats and the sand appears, it's not an invitation to rush forward, it's a warning that a bigger wave is forming. When the bands contract, the market is inhaling. When the bands expand, the market is exhaling with force. A trader who listens knows when to stand back from the shoreline and when to dive in with the wave. Used correctly, Bollinger isn't an indicator, it's a language of volatility, of human emotions swirling inside every candle. Those who can read it no longer trade with emotion, they trade with logic, with probability, with inner stillness. The market doesn't care if you use one indicator or 10. It only cares whether you're calm enough to wait for the moment it finishes inhaling and breathes out in the direction you've anticipated. Once you understand this, Bollinger Bands stop being a trap you fall into. They become a map of volatility, a map where you don't need to guess, you only need to listen. In trading, those who guess the direction lose. Those who read the rhythm survive the longest. The wise don't need a massive arsenal. They only need one sharp blade and the discipline to draw it at the right moment. Bollinger Bands, when mastered, are exactly that blade. The question is whether you can tell when it's speaking truth and when it's simply testing your patience. The quieter the market becomes, the more alert you should be. Silence isn't peace, it's the breath of a storm being held in. When the bands tighten, the inexperienced think the market is dead, but the seasoned begin to pay attention. And then, one candle breaks the band, volume flickers alive, momentum releases, the real signal appears. In that moment, you don't pray, you don't guess, you act. because the biggest rewards are always reserved for those who wait. You don't need to know the direction, just follow the first direction when the storm breaks. Don't resist, don't pretend you're smarter than the waves. Let the market pull you with it. A timid trader sells when price touches the upper band. A seasoned trader smiles because they know it's only the opening act of momentum. When price rides the band, don't call it overbought. See it for what it is, a feast of capital. And if you stay alert, you can step in before the doors close. But don't jump into a wave when it's exhausted, and don't stand aside when the wave is strong. Combine Bollinger with RSI or MACD, and you'll see whether momentum still has strength to continue. RSI or MACD confirming whether the engine behind the move still has fuel. A seasoned trader doesn't need to catch the top. They don't try to predict the bottom. They simply step into the middle of the wave, the calmest part, the safest part, yet also the part impatient traders rarely wait long enough to reach. Not every session offers an opportunity. Some days, price moves sluggishly, like a cat curled by the door, barely willing to stretch. That's when the Bollinger Bands lie parallel, the market drifts sideways, and the crowd begins to grow restless. But in those slow moments, if your mind stays sharp, you'll find small opportunities most people overlook. Mean reversion, a simple strategy, but one that demands discipline, belongs only to those who can restrain themselves. When price taps the outer band and RSI dips into extremes, you enter lightly, take profit at the middle band, and walk away as if nothing happened. No greed, no hope for some grand reversal. In a ranging market, the impatient always pay the highest tuition. What many traders fail to realize is that Bollinger Bands never tell you what to do. They only reveal where energy is building. Whether you move with that flow or fight against it, that's your character as a trader. Beginners treat Bollinger as a rigid mold, assuming every touch means reversal. Experienced traders treat it as a map of money flow, a map showing where it's safe and where the market has set its traps. A map doesn't lead you to treasure, it leads you away from danger. And once you understand that, you begin to hear what Bollinger Bands are truly saying. No indicator can guarantee victory, but when you understand Bollinger's language, you stop guessing, you start listening, you start feeling the rhythm of the market instead of being tossed around like a leaf in the wind. Emotional traders bounce unpredictably. Rhythm traders become like the wind itself, fluid, deliberate, steady. And then comes something most traders never see because they focus only on price: the way Bollinger Bands combine with volume profile to reveal the footsteps of big money before the market actually explodes. That's the moment you stop trading in the dark. You trade like someone who sees the light before dawn, when the sky is silent, but you know the sun is near. Many call the market chaotic, but nothing is chaotic here. What amateurs call randomness is simply the trail left by invisible hands. Big money moves slowly, quietly, choosing price zones with great care. Bollinger Bands let you hear their breath. Volume profile shows you where the heart is beating hardest. When these two tools align, you don't guess, you read intention. Imagine the market as a battlefield. Bollinger Bands tell you when enemy forces prepare to move. Volume profile tells you where they're gathering. Most traders see price rise and rush to buy, see price fall and panic to sell, but they have no idea that behind price stand massive walls of volume, areas where real money has already left its footprints. Volume profile is that battlefield map. It shows you where the big orders come in and where the crowd is lured out. When the bands tighten and volume stacks heavily around a price zone, you are standing before an ambush. Price may move sideways for a long time, boring the impatient, but to those who read money flow, that's a bow being drawn to its limit, waiting for a single spark to send the arrow flying. People often ask me, how do you know which direction the breakout will go? I just smile and say, it's already written on the volume profile. Look at the POC, the point of control, the thickest volume zone. If price sits below it and volume quietly increases with each higher touch, big money is accumulating. They're preparing to push. But if price clings to the upper band and volume shrinks, that's not strength, that's smoke, a scare tactic, a trap designed to lure in inexperienced traders.
Put all those scattered pieces together, and you'll see something beginners almost never see: the action plan of big money. Inexperienced traders get hypnotized by shiny indicators, but those who've lived long enough in the market understand a harsh truth: no indicator is gold unless you place it in the right context. Bollinger Bands and volume profile are not holy tools. They're just two lenses, helping you see through the fog of the market, a forest where a wrong step leaves bones, not lessons. But when you use them in the right rhythm, you start to notice what the crowd hasn't realized yet, when the market truly intends to move and when it's merely performing to lure the impatient. Imagine price moving sideways, the bands squeezing tightly like a chest holding its breath. Volume profile shows a thick cluster right in the middle. Big money hasn't chosen a side yet, hasn't revealed its intention. But after just a few sessions, volume begins to lean toward the upper zone. That's when the sharks start collecting, quietly, consistently, without drawing attention. And when price breaks the upper band with a burst of volume, it's no longer a prediction, it's confirmation. Those who read the flow of money enter early. Those who only watch price get dragged behind, forever reacting instead of acting. The market speaks many languages. Volume profile is the language of money flow. Bollinger Bands are the rhythm of emotion. When those two languages merge, you no longer need to guess, you understand. You understand why breakouts happen. You understand why price pulls back. You understand why your stop loss gets sliced at the wick right before the market reverses. It's all a transfer from weak hands to strong hands. And once you see the true structure beneath the chart, you realize trading was never luck. It's a chess game in which the winners always see the opponent's move one step ahead. The market is not fair. It's designed so most lose and only a few understand enough to continue. Beginners see price going up and jump in. Price falls and they panic out. But the sharks, they're not looking at price, they're looking at volume zones. Where volume is thick, that's where the footprints of big money lie. A high volume node isn't just a number, it's a stronghold. Those thick clusters in the volume profile are battlefields, places where the market once fought hard, leaving behind countless orders and intentions. There, the sharks accumulate. There, they distribute. The unaware think the market is chaotic. The aware understand it's a battleground. When Bollinger Bands squeeze right at a thick volume zone, you're witnessing the silence before the shockwave. And when price breaks out of that zone with exploding volume, that's an attack with no disguise. It was prepared long before you ever noticed. History doesn't lie. Every major explosion, USD, gold, Bitcoin, follows the same pattern. Thick volume, band squeeze, violent breakout. It's not divine indicators, it's big money taking position and preparing to reclaim profit with a real wave. A rookie asks which direction. A wise trader asks who is moving. Volume gives you the answer. If price breaks through a thick volume zone and never returns to retest, that's real strength. If it breaks out but volume dries up, that's nothing but bait, a trap built exactly where the crowd expects a breakout, right at the heavy volume region. That's the trap zone, the kill spot, where the market pretends to break upward, then reverses and wipes out late entries. The crowd thinks it's a breakout, but those who read volumes see the opposite. It's weakening. This isn't strength, it's bait. There are moments when the market leaves traces as sharp as a blade cut. Price drops hard, halts suddenly, volume balloons, bands widen.
Then the market acts calm again, as if nothing happened. That's when big money absorbs every panic sell order in the air. The experienced don't fear that moment. They wait, because they know the counterwave has already been planted right there. Trading has never been a game for guessers. It's a game for those who can decode. Decode price rhythm, decode the breadth of volume, decode the intentions of money flow behind movements that seem random at first glance. And once you can hear the market's true voice, you no longer chase wins. You simply stand in the path of big money. When price clings to a thick volume zone, the bands tighten like a pulled cord. Momentum cools. Don't look away. That's the moment the market holds its breath, preparing for a release strong enough to sweep away every wobble that came before. The market is not a place to roll dice for luck. It's a symphony, and money flow is the conductor. Bollinger Bands and volume profile are the instruments that let you hear the real tempo of that symphony. Those who catch the rhythm blend in. Those who miss it get dragged along. The market doesn't require speed. It requires understanding. Understanding when to touch the market and when to stay perfectly still. Understanding each subtle shift and refusing to react emotionally, only acting when the context is ripe. Bollinger, volume profile, and price action, three tools that seem unrelated, but placed together, they become a minimalistic compass with astonishing precision. No need to clutter your chart with flashy indicators, just three elements: volatility, money flow, price behavior. That's enough. Bollinger Bands are the heartbeat. When they contract, energy is gathering. When they expand, that energy releases. But where that energy comes from and where it intends to go, that's the part Bollinger doesn't tell you. Volume profile finishes the sentence. It reveals where big money is stationed and which zones are merely footprints of the crowd. If price slices through a heavy volume node with real buying or selling force, you know the flow has shifted. If it breaks the band but volume fades, that's nothing but bait. A trap built exactly where the crowd expects a breakout, right at the heavy volume region. That's the trap zone, the kill spot, where the market pretends to break upward, then reverses and wipes out late entries. The crowd thinks it's a breakout, but those who read volume see the opposite. It's weakening. This isn't strength, it's bait. There are moments when the market leaves traces as sharp as a blade cut. Price drops hard, halts suddenly, volume balloons, bands widen. Then the market acts calm again as if nothing happened. That's when big money absorbs every panic sell order in the air. The experienced don't fear that moment. They wait, because they know the counterwave has already been planted right there. Trading has never been a game for guessers. It's a game for those who can decode. Decode price rhythm, decode the breadth of volume, decode the intentions of money flow behind movements that seem random at first glance. And once you can hear the market's true voice, you no longer chase wins. You simply stand in the path of big money. When price clings to a thick volume zone, the bands tighten like a pulled cord. Momentum cools. Don't look away. That's the moment the market holds its breath, preparing for a release strong enough to sweep away every wobble that came before. The market is not a place to roll dice for luck. It's a symphony, and money flow is the conductor. Bollinger Bands and volume profile are the instruments that let you hear the real tempo of that symphony. Those who catch the rhythm blend in. Those who miss it get dragged along. The market doesn't require speed. It requires understanding. Understanding when to touch the market and when to stay perfectly still. Understanding each subtle shift and refusing to react emotionally, only acting when the context is ripe. Bollinger, volume profile, and price action, three tools that seem unrelated, but placed together they become a minimalistic compass with astonishing precision. No need to clutter your chart with flashy indicators, just three elements: volatility, money flow, price behavior. That's enough. Bollinger Bands are the heartbeat. When they contract, energy is gathering. When they expand, that energy releases. But where that energy comes from and where it intends to go, That's the part Bollinger doesn't tell you. Volume profile finishes the sentence. It reveals where big money is stationed and which zones are merely footprints of the crowd. If price slices through a heavy volume node with real buying or selling force, you know the flow has shifted. If it breaks the band but volume fades, that's nothing but bait, a trap built exactly where the crowd expects a breakout, right at the heavy volume region. That's the trap zone, the kill spot, where the market pretends to break upward, then reverses and wipes out late entries. The crowd thinks it's a breakout, but those who read volume see the opposite. It's weakening. This isn't strength, it's bait. There are moments when the market leaves traces as sharp as a blade cut. Price drops hard, halts suddenly, volume balloons, bands widen. Then the market acts calm again as if nothing happened. That's when big money absorbs every panic sell order in the air. The experienced don't fear that moment. They wait, because they know the counterwave has already been planted right there. Trading has never been a game for guessers. It's a game for those who can decode price rhythm, decode the breadth of volume, decode the intentions of money flow behind movements that seem random at first glance. And once you can hear the market's true voice, you no longer chase wins.
Discipline may sound rigid, but it is the backbone of financial freedom. Without discipline, every strategy becomes scrap paper. A single impulsive decision can wipe out an entire month's worth of effort in just a few minutes of panic. Traders who've lived through many seasons of the market know this well. They're not really fighting the market, they're fighting the weakness inside themselves. And they understand one timeless truth: no undisciplined trader survives, and no disciplined trader loses forever. I once met an old man, a veteran trader on Wall Street. For 20 years, he sat in front of the same chart with the same strategy and one single principle. When the market isn't clear, he stays silent. He told me, trading isn't a hunt for opportunity. It's the art of letting opportunity walk toward you. Sit long enough, stay still enough, he said, and the market will whisper when it's time to act. That sentence stayed with me for years. And eventually, I realized people don't lose because they can't analyze. They lose because they refuse to wait. No matter how refined your system is, if your mind isn't steady, you'll be swept away by every emotional wave. You enter because you're afraid of missing out. You take profits early because you fear losing them. You hold losses too long because you can't accept being wrong. But those with experience understand loss is tuition, and tuition is only expensive when you learn nothing from it. When you know how to stop at the right moment, when you dare to sit still in the noise of the market, when you no longer chase someone else's success, that's when you've walked halfway toward becoming a true trader. Trading, in the end, is not about money. It's about the mind. Money is merely the byproduct of an inner world that has been carved and refined. When your mind is chaotic, every trade becomes chaos. When your mind is calm, even losses turn into wins. And once you stop looking at the market through fear or greed and start observing it with pure awareness, you'll see what most people never do. The market has never been against you. It only reflects you. One day, you'll open your chart and you'll see Bollinger Bands, volume profile, price action, but you won't be seeing indicators anymore. You'll see rhythm. You'll see the laws of nature. You'll see yourself in the movements of price, tightening, expanding, stumbling, and finding balance again. And you'll smile, because after everything, you finally understand that the market doesn't teach you how to get rich. It teaches you how to grow. Trading has never been a journey to chase profit. It is a return to understanding yourself in the middle of a chaotic world. When you understand the market, you've only walked half the path. When you understand yourself, you become truly free. Welcome to the stage of awakening, the stage where you no longer trade, but understand the market.
If you've listened this far, it means you're not just curious. It means you truly want to master this game. And that is the beginning of every professional trader's journey. Don't let what you heard today fade like a passing emotion. Turn it into a habit, a new lens you carry with you every time you open a chart. If this message helped you realize something, leave a comment. I want to read your stories, your lessons, and the moments you've confronted yourself in the market. Tap like if you found value. Subscribe so you don't miss the next videos, where we'll dive deeper into trading psychology, battle-tested strategies, and the subtle mechanics of big money flow. Each week, we'll peel back another layer of the market, not to become analytical geniuses, but to become the strongest version of ourselves amid the waves. And if you're truly serious about this journey, turn on notifications, because in the coming videos, I'll share perspectives and strategies you won't find in books, insights only learned by those who paid with time and mistakes. Don't search for a perfect market. Train yourself to be the trader who stands firm through any storm. I'll see you in the next video, where we won't just learn how to trade, but learn how to see the market as an art of living.